AbbVie is up over 40% since the August 2019 low, so it's time to take another look at AbbVie. Now, would you be surprised if I told you that AbbVie still offers great value to investors? Well, one reason is AbbVie has a dividend yield of about 4.8%. Another reason is that it has a prospective price to earnings ratio of just 9 times, which is significantly below the averages for the S&P 500. But always remember, it won't be a straight line up for AbbVie. So let's take a look at the game plan for AbbVie. AbbVie has enjoyed consistent and relatively steady dividend growth. As this chart here shows, AbbVie has regularly raised its dividend over the past 5 years. The dividends have increased by an average of about 21% per year over the past 4 years. The dividend is expected to rise again by about 10% this year. More important, AbbVie is close to closing on its acquisition of Allergan, which will likely provide a big boost to the stock price. The deal is expected to be accretive to earnings, meaning earnings will be immediately higher. Although AbbVie will lose the patent protection on Humira, AbbVie has indicated that there will be $2 billion in synergies with Allergan. Moreover, the combined earnings are expected to be 10% higher during the first year. Something else to think about is that Allergan's nearly $16 billion in revenue, plus $33.3 billion from AbbVie, will give it the flexibility to make further acquisitions. Simply stated, the closing of the Allergan deal in the next few months is likely to act as a catalyst for higher earnings and cash flow. So let's take another look at our charts for AbbVie. And today we're going to take a look at two charts for AbbVie, and the symbol is ABBV. For disclosure purposes, I do not hold any shares of AbbVie at this time. And this chart here is the monthly chart going back to 2013. And the important thing to look at with regard to the price chart is going back here to the beginning of the chart, from that point there up through the bottom in 2015, and then the downtrend in mid 2019, and on up to the current date. There's a pretty healthy upward trend. Now, from this bottom here, we did have a very good V bottom with the rise up to here, just above $90 a share. But since then, we've had just a slight downtrend, not too significant. But if you remember, we were expecting that. As I had indicated before, is that the distance that the fast line had to move here in the MAC from this point here up to the slow line, that was a pretty long way to go for the fast line. And oftentimes there is a hesitation in that move. And this one happens to come here just as the fast line is just barely going through the slow line there, and also near the zero line. So those things sort of coincide for a small hesitation here. Now go back up here. The price also sliced through that 50 and the 20 EMA, and it got a bit ahead of itself, in my humble opinion. So I think there's going to be just a very slight pullback here as long as the market remains normal. If we have a healthy sell-off, all bets are off. Now, I don't think that's going to change whether or not AbbVie is a good stock to invest in. I'm just saying that if we have a big sell-off in the market, it could hurt the price here. But I would hang in on AbbVie. Now, let's go here and take a quick look again at the MAC. You see, we're just heading through that slow line up to the zeros line. So once we get through that zero line, it's going to start picking up more and more strength. And that's what's happening. So now let's go take a look at the weekly chart. And this here is a 2-year weekly chart on AbbVie. And as you can see here, from that bottom there, we had a pretty good run up to this point here, just popping above $90 a share. But since then, we've kind of gone sideways for the most part, with a little bit of a downtrend in the last several weeks or so. And I think that's going to probably continue. On the weekly, we are still above the 20 and the 50 EMA. So I'm thinking that the stock is going to sell off down and meet with perhaps that 20. It might go through that 20 EMA and then maybe test the 50 EMA. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I think everything looks good for AbbVie. Again, there's always a possibility of a strong sell-off, and if so, it may take it through the 20 and the 50 EMA. But I wouldn't let that scare you too much. You can see here in the MAC, things from the bottom were very strong on that run up here. We're just having a slow turnover in the fast line, and it may be possible for the fast line to go through that slow line, but that doesn't really matter. Let's just see if the fast line comes down here, and I want to see a nice shallow reset on the MAC. And with a very slight downward trend in the fast line and maybe even in the slow line, as long as things stay above the zero line or near, I think it's going to be in good shape. Now that may take the price down here, might come through the 20 and maybe the 50 EMA, but I'd hope to stay above $80 a share. It might even go further than that depending upon what happens in the market. What you're looking for is just a slight sell-off in the price, and hopefully, let's go down to the volume. Hopefully, the volume stays relatively low. It had been declining in that area there for the most part. Now, we did have a pickup. I don't think that changes my opinion, but we did have that pickup. But I just like to see the volume just trail off very slightly like that. Let's go back up here to the MAC. So you see the MAC. You can see the histogram. Things have topped here, coming on down to that zero line. It's possible that it's going to go below zero. I don't think it's a big deal. But you look here at the price rate of change. You see this? This is a nice top, and this is a nice shallow run. So as long as that run can stay above, hopefully above that zero line or near, and remains shallow, you're in good shape. Same thing for the RSI. We're going to trend downward, hopefully toward the 50 or midline, stay above or near that, but just very shallow. You can see that shallow decline here more perhaps in the stochastics, where we've trended sideways, kind of intertwined, and then the fast line finally broke free and is moving on down. But it's not very rapid. So that's what you want to watch and pay attention to, is a very slow decline in these oscillators. So it's not a big deal. Same thing here. Nice slow decline. Quite different than, say, this move there or this move here or this move there. Just want to see this sell off a little bit so that the market and the stock and the company doesn't get too far ahead of itself and it resets. So back here to the price chart, once again, want to see a little bit of a sell-off with a tapering of the volume that may or may not occur depending upon the circumstances in the overall market, but a trailing off on the price and a reset, say, in the MAC and some of the oscillators. And then that reset will get set for another upward leg. And so for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.